It is genuinely very exciting to be here today, I have to say. Apart from the fact it's just like family. Everywhere I go, I see Steve and Julia and Jennifer, and it's wonderful. But to be here at the heart, at the hub in Copenhagen, where energy efficiency is being so energetically and efficiently energetically put forward is great. So I should just say I do run something called the Global Fuel Economy Initiative, and that lies at the heart of the Transport Energy Efficiency Accelerator. And there were three things just I quickly want to try and cover with you now. One is a little bit of background on the issue. I will try to avoid any duplication in that from what you may have already heard. The second is to tell you a little bit about what this accelerator basically does and offers. And then finally a little bit about where we hope it's going. So background. This was, I heard Steve, I think, earlier talk about the vast growth that's coming in all forms of income and therefore purchasing. And the focus of the Global Fuel Economy Initiative is vehicles. And we know that by 2050, $400 trillion will have been spent on fuels and vehicles. That is a vast amount of money by anybody's reckoning. And that's what we've got to steer. That's the investment we have to help shape in the right direction. Did it? Sorry. I knew I was getting too confident with that old clicker. So the key element being the growth in the global fleet. So the growth in the number of vehicles on the planet and where those cars are coming. So we know that the fleet is going to triple. That's as many cars in China in 2050 as there are on the whole of the planet today, if all of these trends are to be believed, and the vast majority of it outside of the OECD. And that's quite an important thing to keep in mind as we go forward with what we're trying to achieve. So the impact of that, we all know mobility is incredibly positive, brings great economic benefits. But in terms of sustainability, it has to be carefully managed, because on the climate alone, if we follow that trajectory and retain in a business as usual kind of approach, we will overshoot any concept of climate stabilization by a very long way, just on the vehicle contribution alone. So that's one downside. The second is air pollution, and this, of course, has been getting a great deal of airtime lately with the Volkswagen case. There are 3.2 million premature deaths every year due to air quality. And as we just heard, in China, the key issue for the heating piece is around air quality. Well, in vehicles, it is too. And that's another downside that we have to be aware of. And there are others. Energy security, sheer wasted resources that could be used much more efficiently in sustainable development of other sorts, schools, hospitals, the many other things that we know we could use those resources for. $2 trillion alone could be saved by 2025 net, just using existing cost-effective technologies to improve the fuel economy of our vehicles. So it feels very win-win from where we're sitting. And that is why the Global Fuel Economy Initiative was set up, because we wanted to put forward this point and this argument, and these key organizations with expertise in some very important aspects of that argument, from the energy piece, International Energy Agency, through to the transport perspective, and of course the development perspective from UNEP. All of these organizations have a great deal to contribute to this partnership. And we work together very, very closely, and we focus on our three targets. Basically, we believe and have modeled and shown that by 2050, if you put existing cost-effective technologies into all the vehicles on the planet, that's mild hybridization. That's not EVs. It's not plug-in hybrids. It's the most baseline stuff going. You can save half the fuel that would otherwise be being used. And when you're presented with facts like that, it feels a bit, of a no-brainer. And certainly we feel, and these organizations who support our work feel, that this is something that there should be a great deal more focus on. So the Global Fuel Economy Initiative sits at the heart of the Transport Accelerator. But I will speak a little in a moment about how we are expanding out beyond that. But suffice to say, not only are we a partnership of 6 very, very significant organizations, but we're supported by some very key players in the sector too. Now, having said what I've said about embedding those technologies and them being cost effective, you'd really think that somebody would have sussed this out before now and got on with it. Well, That is not necessarily a desperately easy to read graph, I know, from a distance, but what it's basically telling you is in the OECD, we are seeing some improvements in LDV fuel economy. It's broadly on track to reach that pretty de minimis target of stabilisation that I referred to. But outside of the OECD, it's flatlining, and that's where all the cars are going to be. There are no improvements, and that's genuinely worrying. And when you look at somewhere like China, which the graph down the side basically shows you the circles are how big the fleet is, so the big circles in some regards matter the most, just in bulk terms. China is not improving its fuel economy barely at all, really, at the moment. So the task still lies ahead of us. It's by no means complete, or even very well underway, quite disappointingly. So what does the Global Fuel Economy Initiative offer in an attempt to address that? So we do three things. We work very hard to raise awareness. We do a lot of very solid research. Evidence-based policy has always been to us the watchword. And we do a huge amount of in-country policy support, capacity building. And that's exactly why I'm talking to you today, because you represent countries that are either already on this path or looking at the options on energy efficiency. And this is what GFEI can offer to you, that capacity building support. So research, we are the people who generate all the data on where we are currently on fuel economy, and we analyse it in a variety of different ways. Our latest report will be launched at COP, so that's in essence the draft of it right there. We do a great deal of research into associated issues, EVs, heavy-duty vehicles and fuel economy, and consumer information. We also do the advocacy, which I just described. So we're working closely through the G20 to work on their energy efficiency profile. We're working very hard through the SDGs, delighted to see SDG number 7 with sub-target 7.3 specifically on energy efficiency. And then the big focus now, as if 2015 hasn't been busy enough, is to look forward to the COP, which we view as a really important moment to add some real impetus to where we're going with this work. Just to quickly tell you about the capacity building, I was in a couple of conversations over lunch where people were talking about the importance of toolkits and providing real good practice and showing people what other people are doing. Well, that's exactly what we are doing currently in around 50 countries in different measure. We take our toolkit, it's web-based, that's just a picture of it. It encompasses all of the best practice. It begins with a baseline where we work in country with our representatives to establish where the fleet is going. We have a new tool which enables you to predict what a policy will do in terms of fuel economy. And so this is very much capacity building. And I must say how invaluable the support of the GEF and the European Commission has been in funding that in-country work. We are indebted to them, as are the countries we work with. So, COP21, what we want to do is build that number of countries with whom we work. We want to go for 100. We're not going to do that by the COP, but we're using the COP as a focal point to generate interest in this issue. And we hope by the end of 2016 we'll be at 100. We have, between the launch of the Transport Accelerator and now already added upwards of 20 countries to our list, and we will begin to work with them. And my foundation will be announcing at the COP a substantial resource endowment to this work, as indeed we hope will others. And that is what we are aiming for. And so for everyone in the room today, if you want something to say at the COP that you're doing, it's not difficult stuff, it's laid on for you, the capacity building work is there, then please come and talk to me about this initiative and this accelerator. As you can see, we've hosted a variety of meetings, and these are all countries who've come along and signed up to work with us, but we want more and more and more. And as you can see, they come from all over the world, and that genuinely is just a small subset. So you'd be in very good company, and you'd be very welcome. So thank you very much, and if you have any questions, obviously very happy to take them.